Hello, this is Wayne from CLC, and today I'm going to be discussing the changes to the Feed In Tariff for solar power. Just in case anybody isn't aware, Feed In Tariff is basically the amount of money that people can get back from supplying their electricity that their solar panels are producing back into the grid after accounting for the usage that their actual property does. So, say if a solar panel's producing so many megawatt hours and it's they're using £100 worth of electricity, but they produce £150 worth of electricity, then 50 quid will go back to them as such. So that is like the basic gist of the feed-in tariff. Now, the Conservative government have been wanting to change this for quite a while. Well, they first announced that they were going to be assessing the overexpenditure, in their words, because they're trying to control costs of overspending on subsidies for renewables, which is absolutely ludicrous in itself. They first announced that in July 2015. And they then decided to do the consultation between August 27th and October 23rd of last year, which was also quite a short period of time. So it's been quite clear by a lot of industry leaders that this is something that they're rushing through because they're trying to cut the amount of subsidies that the green sector are actually getting, which is strange because I don't know if you actually missed the recent news article last year that announced that the UK is the only G7 country to increase subsidies for fossil fuels, which is ludicrous. If you're including people like America, China, Russia, Germany, all of the big countries, and we're the only ones actually increasing subsidies to fossil fuels. Yet our government have claimed on many times that they are going to be the greenest government that there is. So, which is absolutely ludicrous, because to say that they're overspending is ridiculous, because they at the moment, between 2014-15, the government gave £5.9 billion in subsidies for the production of fossil fuels inside the UK, and then they also gave £3.7 billion for production overseas. Now, most of these subsidies are going to foreign companies as well, so it's not as if the money's even staying inside the UK. Regardless of where it's going, it is going to, obviously, to big corporations, and then also it's going to foreign corporations as well. But those figures don't include the tax breaks that they're giving for the North Sea oil rigs. So when they're producing oil and gas off of the North Sea, that's not included in that figure that I just gave you. But then also, they're not actually that figure doesn't include the subsidies for fossil fuel consumption. So they also give subsidies to lower the price of fossil fuels at the pump as well. So not only are they subsidising where it's made, they're subsidising where it's sold. So already those figures are quite ridiculous, because in 2014 and 15 the green sector only received 3.5 billion. So when production is getting 5.9 in the UK and 3.7 overseas, and tax breaks and more on the pump, which sector needs more subsidies? I'm really struggling with this. It's ludicrous, especially considering that the cost of production of green energy is only going down. It's not going up. So it's absolutely ridiculous. Also, they announced when the feed-in tariff is going to be changing for this year. but they pushed it through on the last day of Parliament before Christmas, on the 17th of December. They've done this. It's very, very, very sneaky, because they've done this to try and, first of all, buy themselves more time, and then also stay within the laws of Parliament, because they had to give 8 weeks of notice before making the changes to the feed-in tariff. So they done it, first of all, they announced the changes after their assessments. They announced that on the last day of Parliament, so that there would be the break over Christmas of 2 weeks, and then they are giving it up until the 15th of January, when anybody who applies to go onto the feed-in tariff, their application is frozen. So for the last 4 weeks of that period, it's frozen. You can apply, but you will not get granted your feed-in tariff. So anybody who wants to get in on this feed-in tariff needs to get their solar panels up and apply before the 15th of January. So you've only got a week, people. And who has the money to do that in that sort of amount of time? So it will then be frozen until the 8th of February. And then on the 8th of February, when the new feed-in tariff goes into place, people will then, who have applied before obviously, the last 4 weeks, even though it's frozen, it's still in the old feed-in tariff, but they will not be honoured with the old feed-in tariff rates, so will get the new feed-in tariff rates. And this isn't a one-off, because they tried to push it through, as I said, on the last day of Parliament, but they also done this when they blanket swept government with a whole slew of documents to try and rush through loads of things without proper scrutiny from the opposition or anybody, or even the media. So, because they pushed through 36 ministerial statements and 424 documents in one day. How ludicrous does that sound? 424 documents and 36 ministerial statements made in one day. Who can process that? No one. No one. And then they gave themselves a fortnight off, so that then nobody can even make a statement about it. Okay, when they got back, Jeremy Corbyn did make a early day motion to try and contest the feed-in tariff cuts, because obviously Jeremy Corbyn, he cares about this sort of stuff. He's a decent guy. I like Corbyn. I don't like all of the Labour Party, but I like Corbyn, and I like the way that he's trying to take the Labour Party. So, but the thing is, Jeremy Corbyn's early day motion, because he's the opposition, he can't directly stop the feed-in tariff cuts. What it means is that now the cuts need to be debated in Parliament. It doesn't mean that it's going to be stopped, because obviously the Conservatives have got the larger number of people in government, so they'll be able to probably vote it through anyway. But still, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, because the sort of cuts that they're proposing would mean a 63.5% fall in the feed-in tariffs for solar panels on the 8th of February, which is a huge, huge blow, because how many independent companies try to sell solar panels to people will be able to convince people that it's a cost-worthy thing? Obviously, we know it's an ethically worthy thing to do, to be producing all of your energy. However, if you're not able to recoup some of them costs, some people are just financially not going to be able to do it. The cuts that they're proposing are going to be making thousands of people unemployed, because so many smaller companies will not be able to cope. And let alone that, you're also talking a question of, at this point in time, the government still have not given the fine details of what the new feed-in tariff are going to be. A lot of the leading people in the industry aren't happy about this. They aren't happy about this at all, and it's understandable, because how can they sell solar panels to a customer without that customer actually knowing what feed-in tariff they're going to be given? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yes, okay, the government have done this so sneakily because they have legally gave themselves enough time by announcing the changes, giving themselves 8 weeks, and then freezing it at 4 weeks. So they've made it so hard for people to contest what is actually going on. So how can you convince people to put up solar panels in this period of time when they don't know the feed-in tariff that they're going to get? It's absolutely ludicrous. Seb Berry, who's the head of public affairs at Solar Century, has come out as saying that they have effectively ended the current scheme virtually immediately, and it also adds another level of uncertainty to future reviews. So it's making it look like they're not even going to be able to review whilst the Conservative government is in power. He also went on to say this is not the level of transparency, longevity, certainty that we were once promised by Conservative ministers. And it's not. What sort of government turns around and says that they are the greenest government that there is, yet at the same time produces cuts in subsidies for the green sector, whilst they're propping up the fossil fuel industry in such a way? It is ludicrous and it's despicable. You cannot justify it. You cannot justify it. Lauren Cook, who's the policy analyst for solar at the Renewable Energies Association, also said, I think the whole thing has been very rushed, from closing the consultation towards the end of October and then releasing a response in December. They have almost bought themselves some time with the pause over Christmas, but it is still being rushed through very quickly. It is disappointing that it was announced just before Christmas. It won't receive the level of parliamentary scrutiny it would have done if it had been released earlier than when it was originally expected, or if they had waited until the new year. Which is true. It's absolutely true. We need to start taking notice. Let everybody know how much the Conservative government are trying to screw everybody. It's the NHS, it's the firefighters, it's the police, it's the green sector. What sort of government tries to sneak these things through so that people don't notice? It's despicable, it's disgusting, and they have no morals. No morals. And considering this is days after the talks in Paris, it is clear to the world that something needs to be done about climate change. But it is clear to our government that they need to make profit at any cost. I'll see you next time.